Hello, everyone. Welcome to Commander's Pod. My name is Duncan. I'm joined by Sloan and Jeff.
Hello.
Hey, morning, guys. Today, we're going to talk about a bunch of subjects. We're going to talk about how Teferi's Protection doesn't do what you think it does. We're going to talk about how to build a deck. We're going to do it as a kind of practice to show you how we do it. We each have our own different techniques we'll bring to the process, but you can see how we kind of do it. We just got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. So how you doing, guys?
Doing pretty good.
I'm doing good till I had to come hang out with you guys.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for putting up with us. But what I want to start with today is our Counterspell segment, and I want to have a debate about what makes a deck CEDH.
Well, that's an easy subject, right? This isn't one that gets argued about.
No,
often.
not at all.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what level of like CDH we're talking about. Are we talking about like
What point?
straight up like what is the highest tier, or are you saying
where have you stepped over the line? Where have you gone from Commander EDH to CEDH?
Okay.
Well, I think it is good to define it though, like he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I would define it as Commander is casual, and CEDH is competitive, and that's ultimately the difference. So in competitive, there aren't as many rules other than you're trying to win and everybody knows that. And the curve is also very, very low. So there's a lot of fast mana and there's a lot of interaction.
So you don't have any fast decks?
And you're just going for combos.
You don't have fast decks? You have slow decks?
So it's a different design meta. So I have fast decks for what would be casual, but they would be, it's like, you can have a really fast car, but if you get in a Formula One race, it's not fast anymore.
Right, but you see, you're talking in general terms. And what I want to do here today is I want us to be able to give players a way to know when they have stepped over the line to where it might not be a casual deck, or where maybe the deck they're facing is not at the same power level. People try and give power levels to deck. Oh, I'm a 7, I'm an 8. It's so subjective.
Right.
I'm saying, what are our definitions of a deck that when we sit down against it?
So
fast mana and combos.
So I think that's too broad. Yeah, I think that's too broad. My definition of a CDH deck is going to be, if you can consistently win between turns 4 and 6, you are probably playing a CEDH deck.
Okay.
And the reason why is because, generally speaking, between turns 4 and 6, if you're doing a casual game of Commander, you're probably only going to have between 4 to 6 mana between those turns, and maybe a couple of rocks and a couple of other pieces out. For a CEDH deck, generally speaking, between turn 4 and 6, you're winning the game. Like most CEDH decks I've gone up against and I've played with, and even some that I've tried building myself, generally speaking, between turns 4 and 6, the game is coming to a close. It is not that long of a game. And I think if you have a deck that can consistently do that, not just do it every once in a while, but literally do it every single time between approximately turn 4 and 6, you're probably playing a CEDH.
Okay, so but what you're saying is not with like the perfect hand. Like, oh, if I have this hand,
right,
or a really good hand, I can win. But on a generic hand, just you mulligan.
Yeah, if I were to play a game of CEDH, and the easiest way to know, like I said, is if I were to draw a hand, play it out, goldfish it, by turn 4 to 5, my board's ridiculous and I'm winning. Do it again, and it just keeps happening between turn 4 and 6. I'm probably have built a competitive deck. Okay. I probably have built a deck that is going to, like Jeff says, it's going to have fast mana, but it's not just that it has fast mana. Everything about it is fast. You're dropping, if your commander's a key part, you're dropping the combo for your commander's out fast. Like, everything about it is just between 4 and 6.
You're also not trying to do a lot of different things.
Right.
You're trying to stop the other guy, so you have stuff to stop them, and then you're just trying to get to the same, you're winning the same way every time.
Right.
Whereas like in our commander decks that are casual, we have a theme, but there are 30 different ways we can win within the game. We don't have a ton of tutors. We don't have a ton of stuff to go grab the exact combo we want to do.
So if
CEDH is very geared in. It's just doing this one thing the same way every time.
I even want more specific. When you have a deck and you're looking at a deck, if it has Mana Crypt in it, does that make it CEDH?
I would say it does not necessarily make it CEDH with one card. If you have Mana Crypt, if you have Mox Opal, if you have Mox, basically all those manas that come out for 0, if you have 5, 6, 7 of those, you're probably leaning towards CEDH, because the reason why is you are putting into your your deck cards that are infinitely going to put you
But
ahead
what
of
if I
everybody
don't
else.
have any combos in that deck?
Listen, I don't.
These are the questions I'm trying to ask.
No, that's 100% true. So if you have all the fast mana and your fast mana is going to get, I don't know, birds. Okay, that's a good example because they're not
you
very
hate
good.
on birds.
Yeah. Well, they can be a lot of fun and casual, but if you're going to get birds, okay, fine. So you had fast mana to play more birds. You're actually probably hurt because your fast mana took up all the slots of cards in your hand, and now you have nothing to play. Whereas in CEDH, you actually play cards like Lion's Eye Diamond that literally gives up cards in your hand because you're going to win right now. So fast mana with a way to win consistently every single time the same way, I think that leans more towards
So you don't
CEDH.
need tutors to be CEDH.
You don't need them, but typically they'll play them.
Yeah, again, if you're leaning towards CEDH, I think you're being a little too broad here, and you're
that's what
trying
I'm
to
trying
be
to say.
you're trying to be too specific. You're trying to say what cards are making it CEDH.
I'm saying
It's
at what point, to me, so you guys have said yours, let me say mine.
Sure. Yeah.
I think you need 3 things. You need combos, you need fast mana, and you need tutors to get to your combos.
Right.
If you have those 3 things and you're using your tutors to go for your combo wins and you're playing your fast mana, and I guess the play part of it would be if you're structuring your hand, you're mulliganing to get the better hand, you're going down to 4 cards, you're definitely, I think, playing CEDH if you're doing that.
Yeah, as a
Sometimes you
definition
have
goes, that's
to
pretty
just-
good, Duncan. As
Yeah.
a definition goes, that's pretty good.
But I think, to
Right,
me, you
so-
need all 3 things.
So now to play you, because you just played it with us. How many? What if I only have 1 combo, 2 tutors, and 3 rocks, fast rocks?
that's
you only
not
have-
fast mana if you only have 3 of them.
Yeah.
But that's my point. So you were trying to be extremely specific. So in your example, what are the thresholds? How many
I would
tutors?
say
how many
5 or
combos?
more 0-drop rocks, 2 or more tutors, and at least 1 or more combos.
I don't need to get that specific. I
See, I
like
don't
your
even think it's that specific. I think I wouldn't even consider that CEDH, because if you only have 1 combo to win and I counter that one thing, okay, great, you just lost the whole entire game.
No. Some
But-
CEDH decks have 1 combo and they know how to get there every single time, and that's how they win. But I think we need to talk about what the combo is, though, because
Well, let's
in
just
casual,
take the most common one, Thassa's Oracle.
yeah, but in casual, you can say combo and it can mean a lot of different things. But in CEDH, it really means you're going to win,
A win
and they're going to
combo.
have a very hard time stopping you.
Yep.
The combos are literally designed that they're hard to interact with, or that part of the combo is you have a way to keep them from stopping you. So you literally get there and it's over, to the point where the other player knows it's over. They're like, they see what's happening. They're like, all right, I concede. You.
So I would also add, if you have less than 30 lands and you're not like a ramp deck, if you're not playing like green, you ramp, but just as a general rule, you have I think that kind of makes you CEDH as well.
Yeah.
Most casual decks have more than 30 lands.
Yeah. And I see, and that's why I go back to the turns thing, because I have decks that have certain combos and they have tutors. Now I don't have all the fast mana. I don't have like all the mana crypts, and I don't have the big one for Commander, Jeweled Lotus. Like I don't have those myself, but I have some decks that I've built that are stronger, but I wouldn't put them as CEDH because they're not strong enough, but they still have a couple of tutors. They have an instant win combo. They have those things. That's why I think it's more based off of how consistently can your deck do it. Because from everything that I've seen, when I watch the CEDH play, that I watch some of the other YouTubers that I view play, most of the time the games are over between 4 and 6. They very rarely go past turn 6,
But
and that's
the thing.
why I think
but
it's
somebody
more
could
about
honestly
that.
say, no, my deck doesn't win by then, because they're playing with people that are playing CEDH. That's
Right.
what they're used to. They don't know they're playing
No,
CEDH.
they are
but that
specifically. They were specifically CEDH decks that were built for CEDH tournaments.
You're
that
not
they
hearing
built.
what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody who grew up in a meta
Sure.
that is technically by our standards CEDH, but they don't realize it because that's what the meta they knew. And they're like,
Right.
no. CEDH is much more dialed down. But does somebody tend to win between rounds 4 or 6? If you ask that question in your normal meta, does somebody tend to win between rounds 4 and 6?
Well, also there's a really good point of like, if you're a casual player, what you ultimately are asking a lot of times is, how do I keep myself from being in a CEDH? Like, which is kind of what you're getting
Yeah,
at. What are the things that I sort of keep out of the deck to protect myself from that? And it's hard to say, because I have a lot of casual decks that if you don't do anything to me, I'll win on turn 4, 5, or 6 by just attacking you. You could just play a very basic casual deck with just stuff that attacks.
Right.
If no one does anything to you, you'll win 4.
Yeah, but
And
that's
there
just
are a
'cause you're
lot of
playing against
metas
bad
that
players.
don't have interaction.
Yeah, there
know?
are. And
Sure.
especially in casual, there's a ton of it. But I think really what you're looking at is like, there's, and it's hard to define it, but you'll know it when you see it, sort of deal.
Well, that's the problem. Many people don't. They don't realize that they are, or other people sit down and don't realize that the person they're sitting down with is.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say if you have all three of those things I've said, and also you have less than 30 lands, I think you are at the very least bordering on CEDH. On the other hand, there are high-powered casual games. You want them to go a little faster. Commander can last a while. So we build in. You can have those fast mana rocks. You know, you don't tend to play as many tutors, or you don't have any tutors.
But your
And
curve
you don't
is higher.
you don't tutor for your win. You're not trying to win necessarily with those tutors. You're just trying to get the parity or find an answer.
Yeah, and your curve is higher. Your curve's not quite as low.
Right.
So you're playing Cultivate, you're playing Kodama's Reach, you might even be playing the 4, 5, and 6 mana ramp cards, but you're not just playing the 0s and the 1s and the 2s and
Not
stuff.
not exclusive.
Yeah, you're playing some other stuff, and also the amount of stuff you have. Like in a commander casual deck, you might have 10 ramp cards, and you might have 5 border wipes and 10 targeted removal. Right. Well, in a CEDH deck, those numbers are very different. The whole way you build the deck is different. You have a lot more ramp, and a lot less board wipes and more single target removal, specifically counters and stuff that stops your opponents. You're also building in casual, you're building to do what you want to do. I want to do this thing. In CEDH, you're building where you want to do this thing, but you also know what you need to stop. You know what the other guys are going to do, and you have ways to stop them from doing that. And
Well, I think
that's
in our
different
games,
in
though,
casual
we're
too.
both of those. We know what we want to do, and we're trying to stop each other because we
But
know
I
what we're
think
trying
what
to.
Jeff is trying to say, it's with CEDH decks, it's more prominent. Like it's instead of being more based on the theme, like I want to play dinosaurs, it's more based on the I want to get to this combo and keep other people from getting to their stuff. So it's the idea of, I think it's more specific when it comes to CEDH. CEDH is more, I'm going to go for this to win 9 times out of 10. This is how I'm going to win. This is what my deck builds to get me to win. And here's all the things I have in my deck to keep other people from getting to their stuff. As opposed to more casual stuff, it's more of, I want to make a giant dinosaur army that are pirates, and I have a couple of cards to slow down, to reset everybody else in case they get out of control, and a couple of targeted removals in case there's one thing that's really bad for me. But it's not specifically geared and designed in such a fine-tuned way. I
And
think
you
is what
also have
Jeff's
to be
trying
careful of
say.
the arms race, because and not everybody's going to be different. So like,
Yeah.
if your buddy likes to play 5 color decks a lot, right? Wooburg
Definitely
decks.
not CEDH unless that's just for colors and
Well,
you're doing combo.
but right, but then you play that deck a lot, and they play a lot of 5 color decks. Well, in a 5 color deck, they're not running a ton of basic lands typically, right? Because it's very hard to do it. So then, if your response is, then I'm going to put Blood Moon in all my decks, that's more of a CEDH decision, because you know what can directly stop this meta, and you're going to do that. It doesn't mean it's wrong to do it in casual, but it is sort of more of that CEDH mindset, where it's like, I know what I'm up against, and I'm going to put these things in to just shut that down.
So let me just say, like, I don't think I have any 5 color decks that I'm currently running, but I have a 4 color,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and I still have over 80% basics, because just as a general rule to me, you get in a lot of trouble when you play non-basics. It's easier, sure, you get there quicker, But to me, and so I might put a Blood Moon in there or a Price of Progress because I'm going to punish the people that are not sticking to that mentality.
And there are people that do that, and that's fine. But most people, like if you were to poll most people, they're not playing 80% basic lands. They're playing the lands that let them play their cards and do their things because, in especially in a 5-color deck, it's very hard to get all 5 of those colors. And yeah, sometimes they'll get punished by a Blood Moon, and that's fine. But the point is that the mentality of I'm seeing this meta, I'm going to put these cards in specifically to stop this other person. It doesn't move my. For instance, if you're in dinosaurs, you might pick a dinosaur board wipe, right? One that specifically says something about dinosaurs or is kindred in some fashion. It's not the best board wipe, but it's on theme. You would never do that in CDH. You're just going to pick the most optimal choice. In casual, you're going to pick the best theme choice.
So you talked about curve. Do you have a curve number at which point you feel like is the threshold?
So if you're playing CEDH, your curve's low. It's like 3 and under.
I'd say it's well under 3.
Well, 3 and under. So like you're really not playing 7 mana cards that often, unless you're designing your deck to ramp out so fast.
What do you think your curve is in Reese the Redeemed?
So you run an average of the curve.
Yeah,
it's pretty high.
Is it?
Oh yeah, because
most of those elves are cheap. He's very cheap.
Well, no, but
one.
it's not that.
There's only one commander cheaper than that.
Yeah, it doesn't actually have that many elves. So if you think about it, it's a lot of cards like Seedborn Muse, the Nyx Bloom Ancient. Like, it's a lot of that big stuff because in that deck, I just want to do big things. I want lots of stuff. It's not most optimal, but it's most fun.
I kind of agree with the 3 number. That's kind of, to me, where that threshold is. You can be even high 2s and 3 and not be CEDH. But with those other things we talked about, I do think that kind of is where that line is.
Right. And then the other part is CEDH typically isn't going to win by attacking, right?
Yeah, it's generally speaking going to be combos.
There's some, but really it's hard. Like, even if you have a deck that's Voltron, right, they can do a bunch of damage. If you're one-on-one, that's great. But if you're in a group of people, it's very hard to win with
Najila is
Voltron.
a CEDH commander that wins by attacking Winota. There are some.
There are some, yes. But typically, the scale is much more lean towards, I don't need to do any damage to you. And they're using damage as a resource, too, by the way. They're hurting themselves. They don't care how many pain lands they have, how much damage they take. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because I will say with the Winona deck is it does the attacking, but because you're doing that, you're filtering your top however many cards, because I think she does it based off of attacking. You get to go through the top 7, I think, and then pick out a non-human and put it into play. It's tapped and attacking. So for each human that you attacked with. So she actually gets through your deck really quick too, which is another reason why I think she's one of those rare ones that is damage based, but because she's filtering the top of your library constantly by drawing so many cards. So yeah, I mean, I would agree with Jeff. Your CMC overall value is going to be low. You're mainly going to be focusing on doing combos to win that either can't be interacted with, or you have a way to keep them from being interacted with. And you know, they're very quick. I mean, like I said, most, and that's the other thing too, you actually mentioned, Duncan, is most CEDH games, they are going to intentionally mulligan sometimes down to 4 cards, because having those 4 cards in their hand are better than the 7 that they had before.
Yeah, and maybe it's more helpful to people, instead of saying what is CEDH, it's like what is casual, because that's where the discipline comes in. When you're gonna make decisions as a casual player, you have to be disciplined enough to go, yeah, absolutely, I could put that card in the deck, but should I put that card in there? Is it necessary, or is there another card I can pick that's more on theme, that's more fun for that deck? And I found that that's a really good way to keep myself from the deck becoming too powerful.
Yeah.
Because if you build a deck well, it starts to naturally move into that CEDH area, because you just made it more efficient.
Well, especially when you keep making it better, and like, what can I do to make it better?
Well, and I think that is technically one thing why I feel like even some of my decks that I feel like are stronger and are on the upper echelon of being closer to competitive decks. The reason why they aren't is because they don't have a bunch of tutors and they don't have a bunch of fast mana. Even with them being low to the ground, like my ninjutsu deck that I have, Yuriko, I don't have the Thassa's Oracle combo with Demonic Consultation in there. I don't have a bunch of fast mana. I don't have a bunch of tutors. I have ways to manipulate the top of my deck and make my board state get out of control really quickly, but by not intentionally having some of those things you mentioned, I think it does kind of keep it from getting there. If I were to switch out some of my rocks that I have and some other things, I definitely think that would go very quickly from being a high-powered casual deck to a competitive
And
deck.
if you want to own the tutors, because like we're going to talk later about how to collect in one of our episodes, if not this one coming up. And when we do that, I like to collect different cards. So if you want to have tutors in your casual deck, that's fine. I would encourage you then to have some rules that you've set for yourself. So you mentioned Reese before Rise, or however you want to say it. Yeah. I have tutors in that, and I can just go get Craterhoof if I want, and just win. But I set a rule for myself where I just don't always go get it. Sometimes I just go get something that's fun. Because it's too easy to just go grab that and win. So just set some rules for yourself.
Right.
And,
So
and
a
go
lot
get
of this is
cards
going to
that are
be
fun.
behavior. A lot
Yeah.
of this is going to be what you do with the things you have. But just so people can be aware of, like, when they're trying to talk about, rule zero, when you sit down and try and figure out, are our decks compatible? Are we playing at the same level? I think if you look at all the things we talked about and what percentage of those are in your deck, if you have all of those things and you play the way we're talking about, you're definitely CEDH. If you have most of those things, you might be. You know, it's really going to be a little bit of self-judgment, but I do think we've set some good rules on what to look for.
Yeah.
But I like this topic. I think it's something we probably could have done a whole episode on.
Yeah. And if
Probably.
I could say one more thing before we switch, because I see you getting to that switch. The last thing is, if you like winning, like I do, imagine the feels like for the win. So when you're in CDH, no matter how you win, it's good job. Well done, right? Even if you do the same thing over and over again. In casual, if you keep winning with Craterhoof, no one's impressed.
Yeah.
There's almost in casual, there's almost this thing where it's how you got to the win that makes the win more valuable. If it was interesting, if it was fun, if it was different, it almost has more value on casual than, yeah, I've seen that done 100 times.
Right.
Whatever. That wasn't that
I agree with
impressive.
that.
Yeah. So get the full win, guys.
So I think that was a good topic. Like I said, we're going to move on to our next segment called That Doesn't Work How You Think It Works. That doesn't do what you think it does. And
They don't do what you think it do.
It don't do what you think it do. By daggone.
Words are hard.
They
Yes.
are. So today, though, we're going to talk about a specific card. There are things that do similar things, but this is the one I see most often done where people don't even talk about it in the way that it works, and that's Teferi's Protection. And the thing I hear all the time is they cast Teferi's Protection, it resolves, and they say, well, I don't care. I'm not here. You guys just carry on your game.
Right. And to be specific, Jeff loves this card, and this might be one of his pet cards because anytime he has white, he runs it. But so that way we all understand what we're talking about. Teferi's Protection is 2 and a white. It's an instant. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you have protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out, and phasing out is while they're phased out, they're treated as though they don't exist. They phase in before you untap during your untap step. Exile Teferi's Protection.
So there's specific things it does there. Protection from everything sounds better than it is in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Protection from everything.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's really good.
The One Ring gives you protection.
But you're not protected from everything. You are protected from everything targeted.
Correct.
But if something is done to all players, you will still be affected.
Correct.
Yes.
Your life total can't change, but guess what? You can still get poison counters,
Correct.
or you can still have your poison counters proliferated.
Yeah, I think you can even take. Isn't there some ways you could take commander damage too? I think.
I don't think so,
I don't
because
think so,
commander
'cause it
damage is
has
the
to be-
amount of
yeah.
damage you've taken from a commander source. So an infect damage does not add to a commander damage total.
Okay.
And
But if how do I say it? If you already had received the lethal commander damage, this won't save you.
Yeah.
Right, but
And
then
your
you just
previous
cast it
commander
at the wrong
damage
time.
total.
Yeah.
still matters.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some other stuff. So, as I said, you can't be targeted. Things that affect everybody will still affect you. If an opponent plays a card that says they win the game, you still lose.
Yeah, and in regards back to being the targeted thing too, you just mentioned with everything, it says your hand and your library are still in play. So your deck and your graveyard, I believe, also are all still there and they're in play. They are not phased out. Yes, you can't be targeted, but so not only if a player plays a card that says they win the game, do you still lose? But also, if someone says everyone mills 10 cards, guess what? You are milling 10 cards because it's not targeting you. Your library is still there. You're milling.
Right.
So if everybody's graveyard is gone, it would also affect your graveyard.
Right.
Yeah, if someone had a card that says exile all graveyards, your graveyard gets exiled.
Which there is a card, destroy all creatures, destroy all enchantments, or exile all creatures. Exile all
Now your
enchantments,
creatures would be protected because they are phased out.
They are phased out.
but your graveyard's not.
No,
so it
it's
would be
not.
gone.
Yeah, it would.
Yep.
You still have to discard cards. Also, things can still attack you. Just because you don't take damage, they may still choose to attack you to get effects.
Right.
Such as infect or something else.
Right. And
That's right. It's a
everything's
free
phased out-
attack.
Yeah.
So if it says
So
an
it's-
attack trigger.
Yeah, so someone has, when this creature attacks, it does this. Guess what? They can swing at you because, one, you don't have anything to defend yourself with because they're all phased out. But two, it doesn't say you can't be attacked. It just says you have protection from that damage. So you're not taking life loss, and you're not having anything be affected by that. But I think the fun ones are the next ones that we're about to mention.
I also want to point out something. You have also a little bit hurt yourself from being able to react. You have a hand. You have no mana.
Correct.
Your lands have phased out.
Yeah.
So unless you have like Simeon's Spirit Guy or
Unless you have something that
Elvish
produces mana
Mystic or whatever
and
it is that you
instant
exile.
speed.
So you're saying you could still counterspell if you have a free counterspell?
you can.
Because you are not phased out. Only your permanents are. So
it's something you don't see very often.
No,
but I would
because
love
everybody
because
thinks that they're
just gone. They're just like,
Everybody
"Oh, I'm not
would
here."
love the opportunity to do it. I definitely want a counterspell from being phased out. That would be fun.
Oh
I've
yeah.
never had
By the way, not
chance.
only did I for Teferi's protection, but let's go ahead and counterspell
Yeah.
that next spell.
You do two gross things.
yeah.
But yes, and the last thing, the thing that Sloan was talking about, if you are forced to skip your untap step, your stuff doesn't phase back in.
Right.
So all that stuff that you just phased out is gone. So the
Well,
notorious one for this, real quick before you get to your thing, is stasis. So it's 1 in a blue enchantment. Each player skips his or her untap phase. During your upkeep, pay 1 blue or bury stasis. So this would do that. The other one that's also very notorious is an artifact, Sands of Time, costs 4. Each player skips his or her untap phase. At the beginning of each player's turn, untap each tapped artifact, creature, and land he or she controls, and tap each untapped artifact, creature, and land.
So I think what Jeff was going to say is that it only puts it off.
Correct.
And when they do get an untapped, the stuff will come back.
yes. So like that guy could go and kill everybody else. All of a sudden, that card gets gone right at the last minute, and then you come back and you still have a chance.
Well, the other thing is there are
so you're
cards that
saying there's a chance.
right. There are also cards that prevent things from phasing in. And they're really old from when phasing was created, and nobody plays them. I don't know what any of them are, but I have seen them in passing. They exist.
Yeah.
So if they have something like that, you may get your untapped stuff, but your stuff won't come
Well,
back.
and
Right.
I do think there's other cards too that are more recent that aren't specifically targeted for phasing, but there's a couple that say, if 0 mana was spent to cast that spell, counter it.
Which has no bearing on
That
it.
Which has
won't
no
stop
bearing,
it.
but there's newer ones that say if it were to enter the battlefield,
They're not entering, so again, doesn't affect it.
Oh, okay.
So
So
they are not entering. That is another part of phasing that does get confusing. Phasing in does not enter. They never leave the battlefield. They're still there. They're just
just
out
don't
All
of
the
exist.
stuff still attached to them, which that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
All the stuff still attached to them. All the stuff still there. Tokens don't go away. They're still there.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's Teferi's protection and how it doesn't do what you think it does.
And also, by the way, if there's anybody out there who's listening who has a great story of when any of this stuff has happened where they're phased out, please write us. Let us
Cast at
know.
commanderspod.com.
Thank you, Duncan, because we'll tell that story on air.
Oh, for
because
sure.
I've never seen it, and I love those
Right.
niche moments.
I've seen the threats, but I have not yet seen it come into play.
Yeah, but someone out there has.
Yes. So I'm sure when that happens, though, the person that plays Teferi's Protection, they get pretty aggravated.
They might, yeah.
They might. Jeff, what's aggravating you today?
Well, what's aggravating me is I'm actually aggravated for others this time.
Okay.
And it's when people don't mulligan properly. Like this might be targeting one in this group, but the sort of risk it for the biscuit type of mentality where it's like, I got one land, but I got other great cards and I'm just gonna go for it. The frustrating part about this is this really only goes two ways and both are bad, at least in percentage wise. Either they're not going to have enough lands and you're going to feel bad for them the whole game. And on top of that, now that's one more target that you can't deflect to, right? Because no one's going to attack that person who has no lands. So now instead of being a 4-player game, it's a 3-player game until they catch up. And then all of a sudden they have card advantage, right? Because no one attacked them. So like just strategy wise, it messes things up. And then 2, if they do happen to get it, they have the nut hand. They have the nut draw. And so then it's also not necessarily fun for everybody because they're dropping down all the fast mana and they're going for their stuff real quick. So I just encourage people, like, it is okay to mulligan and get the right amount of lands so you can enjoy the game and everybody else can enjoy it and not have feel bad moments. Even though it is exciting to risk it, it just affects so many games when you don't do it carefully.
Yes, there is a player in one of my pods I play in who consistently will keep 1 or 2 land hands because the rest of the hand is so darn good they just can't give it up.
Right.
Listen, you got 2 lands, you got 1 too many in my opinion.
Wow.
Ouch.
No,
so,
I'm
so I
kidding.
think you folks can see where it was targeted.
Yes, I was very notorious for doing this when we first started playing because I was just like, man, if I get 1 more land though, it's gonna be fire. And like 1 out of 76 times it happened, and it was fire that 1 out of 76 times. But yeah, since then I'm not as silly. Every once in a while I'll do it just for kicks and gigs, especially when I'm goldfishing to see if for some reason I had a mulligan, I'm only at 5 cards and I have 1 land, could this potentially still be okay? So I'll do it when I goldfish. But I will say, being the person who did that a lot when we first started playing, I will say it does stink too, because you're not playing the game at that point. You're just sitting there and watching everybody else play the game. And then you do feel bad when someone interacts with you because you're like, but I have nothing. It's like, yeah, but you're the dum-dum who did that to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
we can't keep feeling bad for you 15 turns in.
So
like,
if
at some point you have to die.
If you want to avoid the aggravation of others for this move, you want to have probably 3 lands is really safe. But if you have some good ramp and 2 lands, and then make sure you have the right colors, okay? Because if the cards in your hand are green and blue and you have 2 lands, but they're red and white, you can't do that. Even if your ramp is there, if the ramp doesn't get you the colors you need, mulligan.
You should have, in my opinion, when you have your hand, you should have your first 3 turns played out. And by turn 3, there should be something you can do besides drop a land.
Absolutely. And that will lead us to a discussion in the future where we talk about the curve, which we won't go into now. But just for now, guys, don't be that person who risks it, because what you're actually risking is everybody's fun.
Right.
So don't do it.
Right. I don't get why it aggravates you so much, but I think it was a very good point.
I feel bad. It affects me emotionally. I'm a very deeply emotional person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get you. So, all right. But no, I think that is a good point, and I think it's something very important. It isn't fun when one person's sitting out.
No.
It just isn't. It's all, it's the same thing if one guy gets picked on or one guy gets his board state wiped out early, Same thing can happen. But if they do it to themselves, then you just wonder what could have been.
Right.
So let's get into our main topic. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to build a deck. Now, I don't know if we'll make it the whole way through because we spent a lot of time on some other topics, but we're at least going to get this mostly built. Now, the point we want to make here is that everybody has their own methods for building, right? Some people have a vast collection and they're pulling cards from their collection. Some people buy cards specifically for a deck. Some people do the net decking, that bad word. where they look up a deck and they build that deck and make very little to no changes in it. All are valid things. Not everybody has the same deck building abilities, the same collection. So, those are all fine, but we want to show, because all three of us really build differently, and we're all going to contribute to this, and you'll get to see a little of the ways we do it, and we'll go from there. So we're going to use randomcommander.com, okay? And this is a site we just found for this purpose, and it's awesome. I wish I had known this existed. You hit a button, and it generates a random commander. Now, we did set some rules ahead of time. We're not going to do a commander if it's one any of us have built before. And if it was something that just like Yargle the Black, who is you can't do it, has no abilities, we're not going to do something like that. But I think
it's just not as interesting. It's
right.
not that we can't do it. It's just
you're just building the color at that point. And
so the first one I dropped on is Meridia of the Frost, 2 green, blue. So 5 CMC.
Let me bring this up. Is it MAR?
Moritte, Moridi. And he's a legendary snow creature, shapeshifter, changeling. You may have him enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow in addition to its other types. And if it's a creature, it enters with an additional 2 additional 1/1 counters on it and has changeling.
So I think this one will work. It's not one I would definitely normally build. Snow permanents tend to be kind of something that you have to specifically build around. But I think this one will work. What do you think, Jeff?
Luckily this one doesn't have any snow cost in it, so it makes it a little bit easier.
I think the changeling part is very interesting.
Yeah, I can definitely see some things. So Sloan is going to keep track of this for us. He uses Archidekt. I personally tend to use deckstats.net. Jeff, I think, uses another one. But for this one, we're going to use Archidekt just to keep track and look up cards. And so, I mean, obviously there's some auto-includes in almost every commander deck, right? We know there's going to be a Soul Ring.
Yes, there is. Soul Ring, Command Tower. Always.
Soul Ring, Command Tower, and I would argue Arcane Signet.
Yeah, with him being 2 colors, yep.
So I think those are things right there. So we're looking at green, blue.
Which already in Simic, green, blue would be Simic.
Yep.
You've got a powerful deck. I mean, ramp is going to be so easy.
Yep, you got ramp and you got counterspells.
So what I would suggest is you're going to start with the 2 mana ramp in green, the Far Seeks, Nature's Lore, things of that nature. You might even go some of the enchantments for your lands, because you've got some of those at like 1 mana too.
Right.
Also, those can be really good because most people don't target lands. So you have some really good ramp here, which is exciting.
Yeah, and I would say too with his, because I'm looking at his ability, I would say that we might want to go with stuff that has like ETB triggers, right? And maybe do some blink stuff with them would be one of the things that I'm thinking, because he enters as a copy of it. So when it enters the battlefield, if it has ETB triggers, you can have him then target that. It then gets the ETB trigger. And blue, we have blue in there, which is great. So we have flicker abilities.
Right.
So that's one way that I'm thinking about. What are you immediately thinking when you see his ability?
I'm thinking value. I'm thinking, what are you making him a copy of? What's it getting you? What's it doing? So it could be ETBs, or it could also be something that just has a static ability that's really good. Or
I think the fun might be, you don't have a lot of decks that are snow decks. It might be a lot of fun to lean into that sort of theme and focus on snow and snow payoffs, because I actually think after we did this, I might actually build this deck. This actually looks a lot of fun.
Yeah, because here's
there's
the cool
some really
thing
good
too.
snow permanents.
And here's the other cool thing. It says enters the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control. So that's not just creatures, even though it does get a benefit for being creatures. What's the number 1 card everyone loves in blue that's an enchantment? Ristic Study. I get 2 Ristic Studies now. I have 2 of them.
Yeah, but there are.
I have 2. I have 2 other draw engines. I now have a second version of it, and then on top of that, you're gonna target it. Great. I'm gonna flicker it. I'm gonna bounce it real quick, so that way you can't kill it, and I'm gonna have it come into something else now. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like that would be real fun. Is I'm like you were saying that value. Yes. I'm gonna make a copy of my Ristic Study. I now have 2 triggers. Are you gonna pay for this one? Great. Are you gonna pay for this one? Great. doing things like that, I think that's fun too.
For sure.
Also, there's like Rhyme Tender, untap. So it's a 1 and a green. It's a snow creature, human druid. Tap, untap another target snow permanent. So if you have it come in as as anything, you could have it come in as a copy of a creature that steals other creatures. You could have it come in as some sort of enchantment or artifact that taps and untaps.
Mm-hmm.
You can do some really fun stuff with this because there's so many snow, like interesting snow permanents that you never see that do things.
So did you add any of these cards yet to Archidekt?
Yeah, so I got a couple of them in there so far. Because I had to build a deck real quick because I didn't know who we were doing. So I got the Arcane Signet, I got the Soul Ring, I got the Command Tower. Are we gonna throw Ristic Study in there?
Ristic Study, Farseek, Nature's Lore.
Well, and also like this one for sure. So this is a good point of what we were talking about. So single target removal, right? What do you think of first? Path to Exile, Sword to Plowshares. Get interesting. So like on Thin Ice, Snow Enchantment Aura, 1 white, right? Just like Path to Exile, just like Sword to Plowshares. But enchant snow land you control. When on Thin Ice enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Thin Ice leaves the battlefield. So now you have your Sword to Plowshares, your Path to Exile, but it's on theme.
Yeah.
And no one's ever seen, like, no one sees this card.
Right.
So everybody's going to be like, oh, that's so much fun.
Yeah, that's a great card. What's it called? On Thin Ice, you said?
On Thin Ice, yeah.
On Thin Ice. What's the other one that you said that allows you to untap a snow permanent?
Yeah, Rhyme Tender.
Yeah, because imagine if you had now this is probably leaning more towards CEDH, but imagine if you had Silvala in there and then you copy her. Sure, the original Silvala is going to die, but he's going to stay there and he's a snow permanent. So you tap him for mana, then you use that guy to tap him to untap him again to get
so
more
much
mana.
gross if you can do.
Right? Yeah, but yes, I understand Silvala's legendary. She'll die, but you can tap her in response before she dies. She dies. He's now snowed permanent. You tap him. You get the mana, and because the other card, now you get to untap him when you tap that one, and so you get to do it again.
How gross do we want to get?
I mean, we can.
Well, that's where we want to be careful because I think that's why if you lean into the snow permanent theme, if we do that,
yeah,
we're less likely to unbalance the deck.
What about Helm of the Host? I'm just, you know me, I tend to go gross. What about Helm of the Host?
That's the Myriad one, right?
No, that is the one that every combat makes a copy of that creature, except it is not legendary.
Yeah.
That's gross. I was thinking of the Myriad one. Imagine if it comes in and then you get 3 of them that come in when it attacks, and then you get to pick different things.
So I guess Helm of the Host wouldn't work because it specifies that when it becomes that permanent, it becomes legendary. However, Mirror Box or Mirror Gallery, Legend Roll does not apply.
There's tons of ways you can do that. So we said we were going to put in Ristic Study. Let's actually look for something that replaces Ristic Study. Okay, so what you want to do is card draw, right? Mm-hmm. So this isn't necessarily card draw, but there's a card called Graven Lore. Okay? 3 blue. Scry X, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast a spell, then draw 3 cards. So it's a snow instant, which is kind of funny because a snow instant just sounds funny to me.
Yeah,
because that just
so
sounds
that would
ridiculous.
lean into the snow. You want to get your snow.
So we're gonna have to
your
have snow-covered lands.
Snow-covered lands, right? Because I'm telling you right now, I'm building this deck because this is wild. I don't have a deck that takes advantage of the snow cards. What's the one? The lens where you get extra mana based on the type of land. Extra planar lens. You got to put that in there because that's a lot of fun, and that will work with snow lands. But Graven Lore is really cool. It's not the best costed, so it's not optimal. Obviously, Ristic Study is still better, and this is an instant.
Well, you can have both.
You could have both, but because you might not have enough snow permanents.
We're building this quick. We'll keep both,
What was the one you just said? The blue instant?
Oh,
Graven Lore or something like that?
Yeah, Graven Lore.
So, I think those are all good additions. Do we want Mystic Remora in there just for another way to draw cards?
We certainly could.
It's not. I mean, he could copy it, but then you're giving him an upkeep cost, and you don't necessarily want to, but you could, especially if we're gonna flicker. Speaking of which, we need Ghostly Flicker in there.
Oh yeah, we're gonna put some flickers in here for sure.
So Ghostly Flickers, I believe, 1 and a blue, and it flickers them and gives them an additional +1.
So On Thin Ice is a white card, by the way.
Oh, here you go.
Oh yeah, that won't work.
Yeah, we can't.
Oh,
we
dang
can't
it.
build it
Yeah,
illegally.
Oh,
color matters.
Color
Jeff.
does matter.
Yeah,
Dang it.
Jeff's in here trying to cheat, man. Gosh,
Yeah.
always cheating, putting
Dang
illegal
it.
cards in your decks and stuff.
That would have
What
been
was
such
the
a
one
cool
you just
card.
said?
Ghostly Flicker.
Ghostly Flicker. That's right.
Which is also.
How many?
Oh no, that's blue.
I believe it is. Blue,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Ghostly Flicker's blue.
Spirit of the Alderguard. This is a kind of a neat creature. It's a 0/4. It's a snow creature, bear spirit. When Spirit of the Alderguard enters the battlefield, search your library for a snow land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Spirit of the Alderguard gets +1/+0 for each other snow permanent you control.
Oh wow, yeah,
So
that
it's-
is good.
It's not that great, but it's kind of a fun card.
I mean,
well, all
when
your
your
lands,
lands-
all your lands are snow lands, snow covered. That counts as a snow permanent.
Yeah,
you can
I
have
mean, it's-
5, 6, so it can be a
yeah,
7/4. You
but
know?
it's still just damage. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's snow damage, so
And
it's better.
snow
You
damage at
know
all.
that's the right deal, right?
So
You
what was
just
that card
know that's
called?
the right
We're just
idea.
gonna call that. Can we call that card? I almost wanna
Alderguard.
say it.
It's
Alderguard?
Alderguard. Look up Alderguard.
Let's make sure it's the right colors first before we throw it in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but now we have
sorry
to
about
double
that.
check everything Jeff does. So you got that one?
If I can spell it right, I can't spell.
What's the name of it, Jeff?
Alderguard.
Alderguard. Yeah.
AL?
Spirit of the Alderguard. ALDER. Here's another one. Merit Lage's Slumber. It's only 2, 1 and a blue. Legendary Snow Enchantment. Whenever Merit Lage's Slumber or another snow permanent enters a battlefield under your control, scry 1. So every time a land comes into play, you're going to scry, which is baller for 2 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more snow permanents, sacrifice Merit Lage's Slumber. If you do, create Merit Lage, a legendary 2020 black avatar creature token with flying and indestructible. And although it says black, it's not a color identity.
Right.
So you'll still get to do it.
So do you have that one? Merit Lodge's Slumber?
2020 flying and indestructible.
So, and I have one when you get that one added.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to.
So
Okay.
I that one's very good, Jeff, and it's one of those cards that, you see and you're like, I need a deck to put that in. This is one of those decks. You can slide it in there. You've been wanting to play it. There you go. Now you can get that 2020 legendary indestructible ridiculousness.
What was the name of that?
Merit Lodge's Slumber.
I'm now thinking that me doing this probably isn't the best because I can't spell to save my life, but it's all right.
Well, good, because if you don't spell correctly, you may lose your life.
Wow. Shots fired.
Hostile. He's just mad because we called him out for cheating.
Yeah. We weren't supposed to notice. Like in all his cheats, nobody notices. It's not cheating.
It's a white card in a green and blue deck.
Yeah. Who's going to know?
And that's sad too, because that was such a cool card.
Yeah.
We'll just find
Which
a blue or green
when
one that
you
does
do
it.
this, guys, you may find out like, oh, I actually want to make a snow deck, but I want that card now. So you might not be able to make this your commander. You might have to find a snow commander that actually has white in it, just so you can play that card.
And by the way, we're going to post this deck on our website, commanderspod.com, when we're done, so you can see the finished product.
Are you going to read your card now?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So this one's called Doppelgang. This is from Murders at Carlisle Manor, so something a little newer. It is XXX green blue. For each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of those permanents.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's going to go off a lot.
Yeah, I think that could be pretty good.
I have one in the snow area too now.
Did you get that one?
Ascendant
Yep.
Spirit. And the fun thing about this is one of those ones that you get to add to it every so often. So it's 1 blue, and then you can pay up on it. So 2 snow, Ascendant Spirit becomes a Spirit Warrior with base power and toughness 2/3. Not very good, because it's a 1/1 to start. Pay 3 snow. If Ascendant Spirit is a warrior, put a flying counter on it. It becomes a Spirit Warrior Angel with base power and toughness 4/4. But where you really want to get to is the pay 4. If Ascendant Spirit is an angel, put 2 1/1 counters on it and gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
It's pretty
So,
good.
so it can be a little draw engine.
Yeah.
So did you get that one?
Yep, I got that. Ascendant
Okay,
Spirit.
so I think let's back up a little bit. I think there's some things in here. I have some spells that when I have certain colors, I put in. You put in
Okay.
the ramp. I think one thing that should go in there is Suspend. That is a single blue removal spell for blue that exiles a creature and gives it Suspend.
Yeah.
So again, it gets round indestructible, and for a single blue, it's great removal on blue. And another one would be help me out here. The blue. Oh my gosh, I play it in every deck. The
I don't-
blue that rapid hybridization.
Rapid hybridization. Yeah, single blue.
Yeah,
destroy.
that one's destroy. But again, for a single blue, destroy target creature and give them a 3/3.
Well, we are agreeing we can do
Frog
Beast
Wizard.
Within. For
Beast Within is a must. Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but I just did the same thing for a single blue, and you're gonna pay 3.
Yeah, but what does yours target?
Destroy target creature.
Yeah, and what does the?
I think Beast Within is target permanent.
Okay,
Yeah, so
so
that's
it has a
the key.
wider range.
You pay
Okay.
Yeah.
3, but you can hit anything. So
Yeah, destroy target permanent, and in rapid hybridization is destroy target creature.
And then I would say you need at least counterspell.
Counterspell's good. Yeah, and you can decide how, like, depending on your meta, you can decide which counterspells you want to use. You
Well, I
can
mean,
just go-
counterspell's cheap,
It
and
is.
it's 2 blue.
It's two
That
blue.
is an auto include. If you're doing counterspells, it is by far the best generic counterspell.
Yeah. Do we want any more ramp? Right now I have Cultivate, Farseek, Kadama's Reach, 3 visits.
Do we need more mana rocks, or are we good?
Well, there's the
We have Arcane Signet and Soul Ring for the 2 mana rocks right now.
There's the and well, I don't. If you have green, there's no need to go ahead and put mana rocks out there that
Because you
get
can
destroyed.
do dorks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do your Llanowar
Well, I don't even
Elves.
think you do dorks because those get destroyed too. But like, there's enchant lands, which you're gonna have some pretty good lands to enchant. There are 2 cost
what is it?
ones. There are 1
growth,
cost ones.
What's it called? Growth.
Wild
something.
Growth?
Wild Growth
Yep.
is the good one.
There's a couple of them, and then like if you really want to get fun, one of my ones that I love to add is Carpet of Flowers. Carpet of
Okay,
Flowers.
now that one. Now we're getting to pricier cards.
Yeah,
know.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's. I
some
think
people
it's
like 'em.
$10. Or
Actually,
something.
it's not that expensive. It used to be, but Carpet of Flowers is amazing, especially if you play in a meta where people like to play blue like
but
I do.
that's the thing, though. You might be the blue player in this instance.
You
Right.
might be, but I have another snow permanent too. This
that?
one, this
Go for
one, this one's gonna wreck your curve. But if you're someone who likes to play the big creatures, it's kind of fun. So this is 10 and 2 blue. This is a lot. But this spell costs 1 less for each snow land you control.
Oh, well, there you go.
So you could really get
Yeah,
a
you can
nice
get it for
payoff on
cheap.
this. When Icebreaker Kraken enters the battlefield, artifacts and creatures target opponent controls don't untap during the player's next untap step. So that could be really helpful.
Yeah, so if you
Return-
flicker your commander, you're tapping everyone's stuff down.
Yeah, well, that's a little gross, but
Yeah, of course.
return 3 snow lands you control to their owner. Return 3 snow lands you control to their owner's hand. Return Icebreaker Kraken to its owner's hand. So you can even protect it if you need to, and it's an 8/8.
So I also think Clever Impersonator.
Okay, yeah.
That's 2 and 2 blue. It can enter the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. So you kind of get what your commander's doing again. So I also think Realm Walker might be a good include here. It's a shapeshifter, 2 and a green. Changeling, as Realm Walker enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library at any time. So both Clever Impersonator and our commander are shapeshifters. So,
Okay.
You know, we could do shapeshifters.
Ooh.
What you got?
I don't think this works because this is two-sided, though, I think.
Is the other side the wrong color?
Yeah, look up Jorn, God of
If
Winter.
it's the wrong color, what's not?
I think the other side, the other side, okay, that's not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, so other things, do we want to do anything with ETB so we can copy them? Like, for example, you have, there's the plant dinosaur that I have when it enters the battlefield. If you have X amount of land, you can go get lands and put them into play tapped. I think it's as long as you have 7 or more lands, you can go get 3 lands and put them into play tapped. And then if you cast your commander and copy him, you can go get, you do it again. Do we want to do any ETB triggers like that?
Yeah, that to your point of sure, put that one in because to your point, that does give us something now to copy and do it again.
I
Yeah.
got one called Search for Glory.
Search for Glory.
It's a sorcery. 2, never mind.
Wrong color
Will you
again?
stop looking at the wrong colors? Are you colorblind? Is there
Well, see, this
something
is
you
the
need to
thing,
tell
when,
us?
guys. When you look up cards, because one of the things you're going to do is you're going to look up cards that like snow permanents, And so that's the one thing you have to be careful of, because you look up a snow permanent, you're like, oh, I'm really excited about this, and then you're like, oh, is it the right
Right.
colors?
Right. However, you can on a lot of those sites filter by color.
Yeah, which would
So
be good.
Yeah, that would be
Whelming
a smart thing to
Wave.
do.
I think this could be real good. So this is a sorcery. Whelming Wave is 2 and 2 blue. Return all creatures to their owner's hands except for krakens, leviathan, octopuses, and serpents. Let's remember our commander is a changeling.
So he's
Yeah.
everything. What's it called again?
Whelming Waves. Not
Whelming.
overwhelming, just whelming.
Whelming. This conversation's whelming.
So
Ooh, how about this Blizzard Brawl? This is a good removal. This is the right color, so it's green.
Finally got there.
Yeah, we got there, guys. 3 cards in.
Blizzard Brawl. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, which should be pretty easy, the creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible end of turn. And then each of those creatures fight each other.
well, there you go. My thing's indestructible, and now it's not a fair fight.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good one. I like that one a lot.
So here's just a good value card, Growth Spiral. It's
Yep.
Cynic. Green and a blue. Draw a card, and you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So, good value there.
And if you guys did want a mana rock replicating ring,
Oh, it's a snow one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a snow
So,
mana rock.
yeah,
And it makes copies of itself too, I think.
Yeah,
once it
no,
gets
that's a
to-
great one.
Yeah.
I love that. I play that card because I think it also has a caveat that if you have 8 copies of it, you win, doesn't it?
No, it's once you get to a certain amount of counters on it, you then remove those counters and create 8 copies of it.
Oh, okay.
if
Yeah.
our commander, when he comes into play, does it become a copy or does it enter as a copy?
Enters as a copy.
Enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent
So
you control.
if it entered as Dark Depths, it would still get the ice counters on it, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that's unfortunate.
yeah, that's why I said if you wanted to do ETB stuff,
Just so people understand what that means is if some of them make a copy of it, if you use Dark Depths and you make a copy of Dark Depths, it's not going to have the counters on it. But if
Right.
it comes in as a copy of Dark Depths, it'll have the counters on
Because
it. And why
putting the counters on it is part of the ETB.
correct.
correct. Yeah. So
Let's think of some things we want in there. So again, what about being gross? What about Nixblumation?
We board wipes. Nixblumation is nice, but we got to hit some categories, right?
Well, so
how many board? You
Whelming
have one
Wave-
board wipe,
Yep.
but we need more.
well, we have blue, so we can do the classic Cyclonic Rift.
Cyclonic Rift is great. We have green. What's the one that makes 4/4s and it fights all the other ones?
Oh, Eldrazi's. I know which one you're talking about. Zuri's. It's
Zuri's Predation.
Predation, I think.
Yeah. Because you don't get to play that in that many decks. So that might be a fun one to play.
So yep, that's a good one.
And are we getting +1/+1 counters on our commander, right?
If
Yes.
he comes in as a copy as a creature,
We don't get multiple though. We just get
Okay.
the one.
you just get the 2/1/1 counters on it.
So if we have a couple clones, right, and here's a card that might go for a win condition, Biovisionary, 1 and Simic. At the beginning of the end step, if you control 4 or more creatures named Biovisionary, you win the game. We already added 2 copies
Yeah.
into our deck. So
So we could add clone too, because we added Clever Impersonator. Do you want to add clone?
yeah, put clone in there.
For a land, Faceless Haven is a good land.
What's that do?
Basically, what it'll allow you to do is pay 3 snow and create a 4/5 creature with vigilance and all creature types until end of turn. It's still a land. So if we're gonna do anything with like creature types, which we already have one changeling,
We have 2 changelings.
2 changelings.
Yeah.
It's a land that can also allow you to attack out of nowhere because it's a 4/5. It's not bad with vigilance.
Did you get Biovisionary in there?
Yeah, I got Biovisionary. I just got the land.
Oh, you're typing quick. Okay, I thought I was letting you catch up.
There are a couple of, I think, dual snow lands. I don't know if any of them come in untapped, but I know I have one. There's a couple of that are blue green. They're Simic.
Yeah, I think you just play them.
yeah.
Just because it's on theme.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go over one with you guys here? Look up one called Arkham's Astrolab.
Well, first, is it the right colors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
it's
we'll
just,
look at it.
I think it's just snow. So Arkham's Astrolab. This is not a card I would ever play in a deck, but I might play it in here because it's niche. So you can be paid with mana from a snow permanent. When Arkham's Astroblade enters the battlefield, draw a card, and then it's a filter. So pay 1, tap, add 1 mana of any color. I don't know because we're only blue green.
Yeah, I mean we have so
Seems
much
like a
ramp.
stretch.
We
Yeah,
have so much
I
ramp.
don't
I
think
don't
it's
think we would
necessary.
need that, especially because I think replicated ring taps for any color.
So I think we should put Spark Double in there because Spark Double doesn't care about legendary rule.
Yeah, and if we're also doing that, then
Sakashima of 1,000 Faces.
there you go. Yep.
So now we have a few clones in there to get to our Bio-Visionary win.
Yeah, what's the other? Do we want to try to do? So we have a Bio-Visionary win in there. That's one combo win. Do we want to try to do maybe a flicker win? Anything with where it's gonna keep flickering the board down?
I would
Anything like that?
I typically stay away from Flicker because it's just too powerful.
Oh, actually, what would be good? That's not crazy powerful. Displacement Kitten. would be-
Displacer Kit.
Yeah, because it allows you to flick one permanent every single time you cast a spell. So like if you cast them-
Non-creature spell.
yeah, non-creature spell, you cast and you flicker him. You're like, I want him to
I
be
would
this
put that
now.
in there. Yeah.
Displacement Kitten, I think it is. Displacer.
Displacer.
Displacer. Kitten cat. Meow.
So again, value engine and something you can copy. Beast Whisperer. Every time you cast a creature card, draw a card.
That's a good one. That's a good card draw. Because I think are we wanting to copy more creatures, or we wanted to go with more value stuff we want to try to copy?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. This
Copy
is
all the things.
Did we do this one yet? This is a new card. Doppelgang.
He did
yes.
that one.
You did that
Yes.
one? All right, good.
Way to pay attention. Doesn't know the colors. Doesn't know what.
Doesn't know the colors. Doesn't know
Let's go ahead and throw
Jeff-
one more clone in there.
Jeff's putting 3 doppelgangs in this deck, by the way, guys. You might want to check its legality before you play it.
Multiple cards and wrong colors, so totally legal. Stunt Double. It's another clone, but it has flash,
Ooh, that's cool.
and it can do any creature on the battlefield, yours or theirs. So
Do we
Bonus.
want to throw in a ley line of anticipation so we can cast everything at flash?
I mean, I never don't want to.
If it's coming in, our commander, if it's coming in as a copy, does it also stay a creature or no?
It only comes in as a copy of a permanent you control. So if you choose a creature, it is a creature then. But if you choose a artifact, it comes in as an artifact.
Right, but it would still get a +1 counter.
No, it only does. It only
Does
does
it say
count
if it's a creature?
if it comes in as
because
a
there
creature?
are weird things in Magic. They'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you
If
still
it's
get
a
+1
creature,
counter.
it enters with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it and has changed because it's a 0/0. Our commander's a 0/0 by the way.
Gotcha.
So if you're not copying a creature, that's why I think it has that caveat of the 1/1s on there. So,
So here's something kind of, it adds +1 counters. We haven't gone that route. Let's not worry about it.
yeah.
So
I'm trying to think of.
So, do we want like Sakura Tribe Elder? It's a creature and ramp.
Really, what you're gonna have to do, because we're not gonna have time to build the whole thing on here. What you're gonna
Yeah.
do in green is you're gonna kind of go, well, there's different ways. Like if you have cards that you're picking from that you already own, you might put Sakura Tribe in there because you probably have 30 of them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're buying the deck, you're gonna look and go, okay, how does it fit my curve? Do I have room for a 3 ramp? Or 2 ramp, or where do I have room in this? I like Sakura. We have rampant growth too.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Nyx Bloom. Is that not a way we want to go?
I mean, we could do Nyx
Well,
Bloom.
yeah, we just have to see. Are we going? Do we have a lot of high curve mana cards when we're done?
So
And I don't know yet because we're kind of far away from that.
I can tell you right now exactly what our curve is, because on Archidekt it does that.
Well, what is it?
So our 4 CMC is our main is our highest CMC right now is 4. We drop off significantly to 5. It looks like we only have 2. We have no 6, 1 7, 1 8, no 9, no 10, and then we have 1 12, which is that Kraken guy that you mentioned. That is technically he reduces himself for every snow permanent you control. So, he could be cheaper.
Yeah.
The majority of our stuff right now is between one is just it looks like it's at about 7 cards, and then at 2 and 3 we have 9 cards, and then at 4 CMC we have about 10 cards.
I would get rid of.
So our average is 3.2.
Well, let's not get rid of anything.
I would
we're not doing first cuts because we aren't going to even finish the deck. Why take things out?
Well, because like Into the North is a snow card that replaces.
I was just looking
Okay.
at the same card. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So Into the North is something that I would add
Just
in
put
there.
it in there.
Yeah, but I would. Okay.
I mean, more ramp can't hurt. We're not going through first cuts. We're just going through first draft. We're putting together a deck.
Yeah, just kind of looking at like what would I want to put in this deck? Why, why am I throwing these things in there? So I mean, Into the North. If you just want to read what it does real quick, if you still have it up. If not, I have it here somewhere. I just got to find it.
I do have it up, or I did have it up. Do you still have it up, Jeff?
I got it.
No.
Search your library for a Snowland card and put it into play tap, then shuffle your library. It's 1 and a green. So that's specifically going to be on the snow theme. It's going to allow you to get one snow specific land. So again, on theme with kind of the snow way that Jeff is thinking of building it.
Sculptor of Winter.
Sounds cool. What's it do?
It's the right colors. 1 in green. Untap target snowland. So it's just a creature. But again, I probably wouldn't play it in a normal deck because it's so susceptible to board wipes. But if you look at the art, her hands are like ice. And then she's creating this beautiful ice flower. And it's just really awesome art. So just to give you a picture into some of the things I do, I'm probably putting this card in there because it just looks, I love the art. So.
Yep. I mean, art plays a lot into it for you. I've noticed that. You do pick cards that maybe aren't as optimal, but they look cool and they do a similar thing to what you're looking for.
Yeah, like glittering frost. Another thing is, I know a lot of people will sort of, and there's 1,000 different ways to look up stuff, but you can go to EDH Rec too when you're looking at a commander. It's important to understand a lot of people are building this particular commander as a like clone, sort of like what we were doing.
Yeah.
But not very many people are building it as a snow deck.
Right.
So like
That's
if you
true.
want to do something interesting, you can click on snow deck and then look for all the snow cards, and it's kind of cool.
Right, but that's how you get the wrong colors too. So how many
No,
cards do
no,
we have?
that would have got me the right colors.
Oh, okay.
Because it only gives you green and blue.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me the wrong colors is when I just go look up the best snow permanents.
I
Right.
got you.
So right now it says that our deck is sitting at 44 cards.
So I think we could stop there. We would put in probably another 15 cards or so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times what I do is I just naturally assume, I say like the land base, I'll just put command tower in there 36 times or 37 times.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, yeah. Totally.
So,
Can we add one more still, though?
Sure.
Just
yeah,
one more,
I got.
okay?
I still got it up.
Because
Go
this
ahead.
one's fun. Rim Feather Owl. 5 and 2 blue. So it's the right colors.
Not the right mana cost. Jeez.
Flying, Rim Feather Owl's power and toughness are equal to the number of snow permanents in play. 1 in a snow, put an ice counter on a target permanent. Permanents with ice counters on them are snow. So, like, if you want to really lean into the theme, you can
Yeah.
do stuff that aren't snow permanents and
Yeah,
just make
and
it snow permanents.
Did you say that has flying?
Yeah.
It's a yeah.
Oh
it's a-
yeah. So now you got a flying beater. I like that.
yeah, and it's
And you can make a copy of it.
yep, and then you can
Make another copy of it.
and then
You can make another copy of it.
there you go.
Nailed it. And they'll all be the right color.
So the cool thing about this too is this says in play. This does not say you control for snow permanents.
Correct.
So even if like other people are getting rid of your snow permanents, just start making another thing snow permanents instead.
Right.
Just I'm gonna make your land a snow land. I'm gonna make your land a snow land.
So then obviously we would have made almost all our lands snow lands.
probably
Yeah.
would have gone more of the snowland basic route. So
And you put
So
extra
frost-
planar lens?
yep, extra planar lands is already in here.
So and then we would have filled it out with more
Yeah.
cards, doing more stuff. But that guy gives you an idea of like how we go about it. I did it sooner than I normally would have, but at the end of building a deck for my last few cards, I do tend to go to EDH Rec to kind of get that. What didn't I think of? Jeff,
Yeah.
when do you use EDH Rec?
I love EDH Rec.
When
Yeah,
do you
it's
go there
great.
when you're building process?
I really go there throughout the entire process, and then because I like to look and see what cards are not used a lot, and they have a lot of different filters, and so I pretty much like to see what people are doing, and then maybe not do the same thing. So really throughout the whole process.
Sloan, do you use it?
Yeah. So the way I build when I'm at my house, I like to probably pull up about 10 different tabs, and EDH Rec is one of them. And then I go to YouTube and I'll find a couple of deck building guides on YouTube for some of the commanders, so for the commander that I'm going to play. And then I'll also find other websites like MTG Goldfish or Moxfield or things like that where people have decks that they've pre-built. And I probably have at least 10 tabs open, all with different deck designs and builds and go-throughs. And I basically kind of look through and I see like how other people are building it. And if I kind of have a basic idea of what I'm looking for, I kind of piggyback off of that and I kind of see how other people may be building it, and I will take a little bit kind of from everywhere. So I generally kind of start really broad, and I kind of start narrowing it down as I go through, but I use, like I said, probably about 10 different places to go through. But yeah, everything from YouTube videos to Moxfield and Goldfish to EDH Rec. I use all of those as sources because I like to see what other people are building, how they're building it. And then, I like to say, well, I've even found decks that people said were really competitive. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't think that's as good as they think it is. It might be good for their play group, but for my play group, maybe not.
It's also good to look at what people are doing, because you might play a deck and go, I think it's this level. And then when you pull it out, everybody starts targeting you a ton because you didn't realize that's actually a combo deck. That's not how you built it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's how other people are building it.
Right.
So it is good to go on there and look, what are people doing with this? And just make sure that I'm not a threat, not knowing that I'm a
Right.
threat.
And I tend to, my build style is a little different. I have a huge collection of cards. I usually just go through what I have first.
Yeah.
And I have kind of my stuff I put in boxes specifically for deck building.
Yep.
And then when I have a specific theme, I'll go through my bulk and go through that and try and
And
find.
I don't want to do that. I try to get rid of my bulk because it just gets in my way at my house, and I don't want to organize it. So.
Right. But so that's kind of just an insight into how we do it. Sloan, you got any pro tips today?
Yeah, actually kind of right on theme with what we did today. My suggestion and pro tip for everybody is, asking for help. Whenever you're sitting down to play a game of Commander, a lot of times it's intimidating. It's something, especially if you're a new player, there's a lot of things happening and going on, and you're building, you just built this deck and you're playing it for the first time. You might be new to Commander and you might not know how things work. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. So when it comes to triggers or sequencing things correctly, or like we just did, building a deck, like a lot of times we have built decks and we hand them off to each other and we say, hey, can you see something that I'm not seeing? Like, I feel like this deck's really good, or I feel like it's missing something, but I can't quite figure out what's going on. Like, do you have any suggestions for it? And we've handed each other our decks before, and we've had them go through it. And we've had times where we kind of just hang out and we sit down and we bring our decks before we play, and we kind of look through them and we give each other suggestions on how we'd make it better. So deck building is something that, as you just kind of heard, we did kind of on the fly and off the cuff there, but we were feeding off of each other and we were giving each other ideas. And a lot of times having somebody else look at your deck that may not even build that type of deck, or who always builds that type of deck, might have a good suggestion and a good way to help you out to either make it better, or if you want to tone it down, maybe they'll help you tone it down a little bit. And
sometimes they can help you find combos you didn't know you had in there.
Right. Yeah, they might be able to point out a combo and say, hey, listen, just so you know, this is a combo that will win the game. I don't know if you're aware of that, and this is how it works. And, they can help explain it to you. So asking for help is something that,
in every aspect.
In
Not-
every
not just
aspect,
deck building.
not just deck building, but making sure you're getting your triggers right. Like we have, we kind of picked up a habit. I don't know where we learned it from, but Jeff is the one that does it the most. Is he'll put like a dice on top of his deck so he remembers his draw trigger, or he'll put a card face up on top of his library.
Like land tax.
Yeah, land
I'll put
tax.
land tax on top of my library so I know to actually use this trigger. Otherwise, I'll forget.
Right. So, and I think Duncan's bought coins that we use and stuff like that to try to remember. Like Monarch, they made the Monarch token, but we put that on top of our deck, or we put a coin on top of our deck to remember that trigger. So, when it comes to this game that we all love. It's very complex, very convoluted, and when you start playing it, asking for help, don't be ashamed. Most players that I've come across, you know, they're more than happy to help you out. They're more than happy to lend a hand in assisting you. You know, obviously every kind of group or facet of people has the outliers. Obviously there's people who aren't going to want to help you at all and other people who care less. But for the most part in Magic, you know, the community is pretty good about helping each other out and, you know, assisting each other where they can. And so, you know, when you go to sit down to the table, just let them know, hey, listen, I'm a new player. I just started playing. If I forget something, can you guys help me out? Or if I ask you if this triggers, you know, can you just remind me or, you know, make sure that I'm doing the trigger correctly? Is really big.
And then also, guys, if you're going to give help, ask questions of the person that's asking for help, because the worst thing you can do is if someone comes up to you and says, I have an idea to build a deck this way, and then your help is to tell them to build it a completely different way.
Right.
Help them do what they actually want to do.
You see that online a lot.
Yeah,
in the
like
forums.
help
Yeah.
them do what they want to do. Don't be so judgmental. Like, who cares if it's not optimal? It's what they want to do. Let them
Yeah,
have fun.
the classic example is I want to build a flying tribal deck. It's like that's not really great, but all right, man. Here's great enchantments to give all your creatures flying, and
I think
creatures you
it's
control
great,
have 1/1.
yeah.
You know, so it's kind of that idea. Yeah. So just, you know, asking for help, man. You know, go into your table. Your
That's a great
community,
topic
your-
and
That
great
is.
point, Johnny. Thank you
Yeah.
for
I
that.
think that's a good one. So one quick thing I'm going to throw in, I'm going to do a little segment. Any of us could do it at any of these episodes, but it's called Tales from the Table. This one's very quick. But it's just something we've seen, and we're not going to go into games and what happened. But I was playing a game one time, and I had my higher power pod that I play down at our shop, and we had one of the lower power guys from the lower power table come and join us. And one of the guys that didn't have much money, and he's building his deck just pre-con at start. And we're all playing, and we're used to each other, and we're, you know, somebody said, well, I'm going to cast a Dockside, and immediately somebody else goes, I'm going to copy that. And we're all just like, oh my word, this is getting out of hand. And the player from the smaller table goes, what's a Dockside?
Yeah.
And the whole table just got silent, looked at him just like, is he kidding? And we kind of forgot for a moment, like, this isn't, you
It's
know,
an $80 card.
yeah, not everybody gets
Yeah.
to see this card, gets to play with this card.
Yeah.
We've all been playing it a long time. We know it, even if we don't have a lot of them. But he had never seen it. He was a younger guy.
Yeah.
But it was just funny though. The whole table there was no noise. You could hear a pin drop.
So it's a tale that you guys basically are just introducing people to gross cards.
Yes,
And
yes.
then using them against poor
Yes.
people
Yes.
who don't have, you know.
And I don't think
So
he
you guys
won.
are just bullies.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
you know,
That's a good
it
tale.
happens.
It's a good tale.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys so much for joining. And as always, kill Andrew first.
Yeah. Professionals out.
See ya.